Greetings, friends and neighbors of the world. I don't have any idea what time it probably is for all of you. I just got a moment and an inspiration to do an impromptu, another live session to explain the Aries to Ashvini connection. This connection between Aries and Ashvini is actually an important part of the sidereal tropical discussion. And it's actually one of the few significant ways for a siderealist to respond. The response would be, well, Vic, you ask for a sidereal definition of the zodiac. Where is it, you ask? Well, here, it says right here that Aries and Ashvini start in the same place. Right? Thank you, Spacebug. So that's the definition of a sidereal zodiac. Well, it's really not. And let me explain to you, and then I want to explain to you what it is. If I say a chair is something that you sit on, then that's a definition of a chair, isn't it? But if I say a chair is in your living room, that's not a definition of a chair. That's information about a chair. Specifically, it's about the chair's location, where you could find a chair. So if I have a statement that the sun crosses the equator going north and south, and thereby it sets up 4 points, the 2 points where it crosses the equator and the most north and the most south point. And then if you put 2 equal divisions in between each of those 4 points, you'll have 12 divisions. And these 12 divisions, based on the soul's north and southern movement, form the zodiac. That's the definition of the zodiac. Or if I said something like, that star over there is the beginning of Aries, and 30 degrees away from that is the beginning of Taurus, then that would be a definition of the zodiac. But if I say the Aries and Ashvini start in the same place, it's not a definition. But what is it? That's what I want to talk about today and explain to you, what is it? What are they talking about? Because remember, the same book which says Aries belongs to the equinox is the same book that says Aries and Ashvini start together. So either the book is half wrong on the left side or half wrong on the right side, or the reader is wrong. So let's do this. I promised you that I will explain this whole thing using just 3 fingers. I think that's particularly cool. And we're going to use fingers to explain this. I want you to try. It starts at Kritika, actually, column, and ends at Bharani. I want you to try to do this, okay? We're going to use 3 fingers. I want you to figure out which 3. I'm going to have, this is what I'm going to say to you. Finger A is connected to finger B. So think in your head, what 2 fingers could these be? Finger A and finger B. And finger C is in the same place that finger A is. Now, does that sound familiar? Because this is exactly what a textbook is saying when it says Aries is connected to the equinox and Ashvini is in the same place as Aries. So what fingers can you hold up the fingers? Finger A is connected to finger B. Which 2 fingers could that be? Could it be these 2? No, because they're not connected, right? Could it be these 2? I wish it could be those 2. I guess it could be those 2, but this would be better, right? This would be better because they're very closely connected. Or if you want, you can make it these 2 or these 2. Let's do this, okay? Now, the third finger is in the same place as the first. Now think, if you pick these two fingers, finger A, finger B, and I say finger C is in the same place as finger A, you might scratch your head and say, are there three fingers here or two? Because if finger C is in this is finger A. If finger C is here, then I really only have two? That's the sidereal thought. Is that the only way to solve my riddle? Finger A and finger B are connected. Finger C is in the same place as finger A. Does it mean that this finger A is also finger C? Maybe. But then why did I say there's three fingers? Is there any other way to get finger C into this picture at the same place as finger A? Let's use this little guy and just put it right here. This explains Aries and Ashvini and their connection and how it's completely fine with the other statements in the same text that say Aries is connected to the equinox. Did you get it? Look, what is finger A? It's Aries, 0 degrees Aries. What is finger B? It's the equinox. These two are connected. Ba chakra nabhau vishuvat. The nabhi, or the connection between the Ba, is formed on the Vishuvat. The equinox and Aries, the beginning of the zodiac, is formed together. Finger A and finger B are connected. So that means if I move finger A, finger B is moving with it. That's called precession of equinoxes. Finger B might move around, precess, but finger A goes with it. Finger C is in the same place as finger A. What's finger C? Finger A is Aries, 0 degrees. Finger B is equinox. Finger C is Ashvini. See? They're in the same spot. But they're not connected. I can move A and B. And that's what happens. That's the precession of equinoxes. Precession from what? This is a star. This finger C here, Ashvini, is based on a star. The same book that says Ashvini and Aries are in the same place says the way that you figure out where Ashvini is by measuring a certain number of degrees from a star, a particular star. That's the definition of where Ashvini starts and ends. Ashvini is based on a star, and this, so like this. Let's use 4 fingers. I lied. We'll use 4 fingers just to add to the recipe. So you got finger D. Finger D is a star. Finger D is a star which defines finger C, Ashvini. So this is Ashvini's defining star. This is Ashvini. Wherever this moves, the other one moves. This is the equinox, and this is Aries. Wherever this one moves, the other one moves. Well, this one is called nakshatra. It don't move. It doesn't move. Naksha. It doesn't move. But this one moves. That's why we say precession of equinox. Now, if you have a book that says your finger A is connected to your finger B and C is in the same place, and you look at your hand and it looks like this, then you think, golly gee, I understand this book. It's very easy to understand. But if you look at your hand and it looks like this, and the book says finger A and finger B are connected and finger C is in the same place, you will scratch your head and say, I don't get it. And then you'll try to figure out, how do I solve this problem? I don't understand how this could be true. It looks like this, but it says it's like this. It looks like the star thing, Ashvini, the nakshatra, is not at the beginning of Aries, but the book says it is. The reason why it looks like it's not the beginning at Aries is because the book says that the beginning of Aries was connected to the equinoctial point. So the equinoctial point went like this, and the star stayed here. So you would say, I don't like books. Or you would say, see, the books are imperfect. Or you would say, let's just ignore one of these fingers. Just ignore one of the fingers. Just forget that this statement about B and C being connected exists. And just only remember the one that says that C and B are together. Or vice versa. But you really shouldn't do any of those things to solve the problem. Because if the book was written 1700 years ago, then maybe stuff in your living room moved since then. Like if I say a chair is something that you sit on, that's not going to change even in 2,000 years from now. A chair is still something that you sit on. If I say a chair is in your living room, that could probably change in 2,000 years. It might be moved out of the living room. So similarly, if I say that Aries is defined by the equinox, that's a definition of it. It's not going to change. But if I say that this star, Ashvini, is in the same place as where Aries starts, I'm talking about a place that may change. If I said this 1700 years ago, and you looked at your hands 1700 years ago, and they would be like this. If I said Aries and the equinox are bound together and Ashvini is right there with them, you'd look up at the sky and you'd say, damn, that's so true. There's no question here. But if you waited 1700 years to read my statement, this one would be over here by then. That's the reason. You understand? You understand? Thank you, Nicholas. Do you understand? Any questions? So, does the statement that Ashvini and Aries start in the same place define a sidereal zodiac? No, it describes the relationship. It would, if that was the only information that we had about the zodiac and what it's bound to. But if right before that statement, we get a statement that finger B and C are connected, then the position of C relative to this whole thing doesn't define it. Spacebug, yes. The equinox moving is observable, isn't it? Like people can see the seasons shift a little. If you can't see it, it's too slow. The equinox is moving. You'll see a different star. If you lived for thousands of years, you would see different stars rise at whatever day you pick to measure. So you could pick a conspicuous day, like the day of the equinox or the day of the solstice, and you can see what star is rising. What star rises just before the sun? But that would change. That changes gradually over time, and that's how you notice the precession of equinoxes, and that's how Hipparchus noticed it. A question? Or Will there be a point when Ashvini is aligned back to Aries? Yeah, it takes. Is it 12,600 years? I believe it's 12,600 years. It might be 25,000 years. Maybe it's 25. It's 25,000 years for the complete precession. That's it. That's all I want to share. So, you see, one of the reasonable responses to my challenge that there's no sidereal definition of the zodiac anywhere is to just point to one of these statements that says Ashvini and Aries are together. So that's a reasonable response, and this is the way that you would have to parse that out. If that was the only statement about the zodiac, then this question would be ended right there. But since that statement is made by the same person who previously said that Aries is attached to the equinox, you have to ask more questions. And you can't just pick one or the other. Otherwise, why bother listening to this person at all? And so somebody might think there's no possible way this could make sense, or we have to make sense out of it by X, Y, Z. The very simple way to make sense is when the guy made this statement, it was true. And now it's not. Sure, Vanna, you can ask. Any other questions? Oh no, you just ruined your slow mode timeout by saying things. But go ahead, you can ask. Anybody else have the question? You understand? Fingers. Go ahead, please do this. Please do this. Where might I find more information about molding of the Play-Doh head? It's not easily found. You just listen, keep attending the Bhagavatam streams. There's no specific place where it happens. But you know what? Actually, you could look up my video on Bharani Nakshatra. And there you might find some more specific information about how that happens, how the mentality is modified in between lifetimes. Okay, so I'll leave you with this, and I'm just going to request you to please do this exercise yourself. Just say to yourself, there's three fingers, A, B, and C. A and B are connected, and C is in the same place as A. So which fingers will I use for A, B, and C? Well, they're connected, so they have to be on the same hand. So put them there. And how could finger C be in the same place as A? Well, it could be another finger that goes to this point. So it would look like that. Now, if you realize one of these fingers is an equinox and the other one is Aries, and the person said A and B are connected. So if you want to make it analogous to the astrology and the astronomy, then make A represent the equinox and B represent Aries. And then put C, Ashvini, the star, a particular star, in that spot. Barney. So when the day comes that we have half light, half dark, we can see the precession because the stars will shift in the sky or different constellation on the horizon. Do you know how to observe a heliacal rising? What you do is you wake up early before the sun rises and you look at the eastern horizon. And then you make a note of what star you see before it gets too light to see a star. The last star you see rising. That would be called the heliacal rising. And if you make a map of all the stars and note what star that is, then you'll notice that 10 years later, it's not quite the same spot. And that 100 years later, it's a pretty different spot. And that maybe 1,000 years later, It's a completely different star. And that's the precession of the equinoxes, and that's how people noticed it. Why would they be sitting around looking at the stars like that? Because they were astronomers. Good. I am glad you absorbed the three-finger technique. Exactly, Ramesh Dandu. Artha Kukunaya? The half-hen. The half-hen philosophy. Exactly. That is exactly what the approach is. If the siderealist says, I don't want to hear anything about this equinox, all I want to hear is that Ashvini and Aries are in the same place, then you throw out half of your statement. It's like throwing out half your hen. Or if a tropicalist says, well, I don't want to hear anything about that Aries is in the same place as Ashvini, I just want to only know about the part that Aries is connected to the equinox, then you throw out half the hen. If you throw out half the hen, are you still going to get eggs? You're not. It doesn't matter which side you keep. You're not going to get eggs. So you have to keep the whole hen. And what is this that saying all about? It means if you're accepting instruction from a qualified source, you can't just pick and choose the information. You have to take it all and make sure that it all works together. So how would it work together? That Aries is tropical and Ashvini is on that spot. It's that Ashvini being on the spot of Aries is not a definition of Aries, nor is it a definition of Ashvini. It's information about how the two are related. What's my opinion about having planets at 25 plus degrees? It's okay, and whatever, it's cool. You have to read the chart to see how it all is. There's nothing particularly special about particular degrees, although I think some people worked out some kind of system. But okay, guys, thank you. I hope that you have taken up and internalized the three-finger technique. Thank you. Just like King Colin has done. Absorb it with dignity.